Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, everyone? What's going on, Chip? I'll tell you what's going on. XRP, the time is up. Time is now. SEC v. Ripple settlement by the end of the summer. Let's find out what John D loves and what he hates about the SEC. Well, actually, he loves, the SEC hates. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, a lot of XRP, Ripple related things, and Zum rebranded. What the heck is going on? You ready to kick this thing off?
It might be.
You
You
might
ready?
be. I think
If
so.
I get the control ready, I was doing something else here. Here we go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome to On the Chain. Welcome to everybody on the chain. Let's kick this thing off right away. Let's get jumping into it. Something interesting here, Jeff. If we
That's
take a
good
look
coffee.
yeah, I got some good coffee loaded up on my side as well. Look at this right here. So LBRY, this is interesting what's going on with LBRY. So LBRY filed, they did a filing, and what they were asking the court to say is that secondary sales are not securities, right? And it kind of came out in the court case. Remember, John Deaton was representing a holder. It should have been us, Jeff, because I think we have been over there even longer in LBRY and acquiring tokens, but it was some person, it was somebody out there. I would have been happy to have volunteered for that because we've been on LBRY for 2+ years now, since we had Jeremy Kaufman on, CEO of LBRY, for a while. But it says the last filing on our case is due today. The SEC is going to hate it. And then John Deaton said, well, if the SEC hates it, I already love it.
That SEC. I'll tell you what, that whole situation that went on with LBRY, the SEC is in a far overreach position. I'm glad to see John Deaton, coming out. He's not just talking about the Ripple case. I like the fact that he's going to comment on the LBRY case. What do you think, Chip? I mean, to me, this is a big move where, they're making this, LBRY is making a big statement. The SEC has to back off.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC is just, we just know that it's out of control. I mean, it's been out of control for a long time. And the thing about it is that they seem to be empowering themselves with made up gobbledygook, right? It's like there's so much clarity. Everything's super clear, but nothing's clear. And what happened to LBRY is a travesty. A company pulling itself up by its bootstraps, building a company, a decentralized company, and then getting sued by the SEC. I think that what's different about this is this wasn't in the Southern District of New York. I believe it's like New Hampshire or one of those other states that I like to write off, because anything past New York is like, that's la la land, Jeff. There's a lot of beautiful stuff up there, like Rhode Island and Massachusetts and all that. And that's just, it has the blue infestation up there. So it's like, the thinking's not so straight, Jeff. I just say that. But it's Jimmy Filan put this. He put this up here. He put the supplemental brief here.
Oh,
there it is, right there. In support of its motion to limit its commission remedies, LBRY has been trying to resolve the commission's investigation and subsequent litigation for years. Jeff, LBRY's focus has always been to seek clarity around the use of LBRY tokens, which are LBC, including clarity that LBC is not a security in and of itself. However, the commission refuses to provide such clarity and now seeks a broad-based injunction that is neither specific nor clear. Since the commission has requested injunctive relief specifically against Odyssey, the scope of the commission's injunctive relief is squarely before the court. It goes on and on, but you can kind of get the general gist of that.
This is so important, especially as we're going to start looking at the SEC v. Ripple case and see, how momentous each one of these events actually is towards the normalization of crypto. And it was like right dead center of that filing that you put up there. And the request is that LBRY is deemed not a security, the token. And so obviously, it goes back to, and we've heard from John Deaton, the premise of, was the orange the security, or is it the mechanism in which they were selling it to others, the security? And in this scenario as well, if the SEC can actually show that LBRY, or now Odyssey, was selling their digital asset in order to give others an opportunity to invest in their outcome and help others make money off of their efforts. Then maybe there's a possibility in this whole chaos of things that you could deem something, it could be a security. I really wish they would focus in on, and it would be nice if Gary Gensler would do his office hours and get into detail onto the background of the SEC. It would be nice if Gary Gensler would go back and educate everybody on the Securities Act of 1933, the Securities Act of 1934, read through them in detail, get a clear understanding of what the SEC rules and authorities really are. And then it would be nice if Gary Gensler would do maybe a one-on-one office hour session with an attorney that actually understands the Howey test and come to some clarification. Because the one thing that is obvious and known is that Gary Gensler is not an attorney, and he has a complete misunderstanding of the Howey test, and also he has a misunderstanding of what his actual authorities are. So I think maybe he needs to sit down with a constitutional lawyer first, kind of get a good understanding of what the rules and authorities are of the chair of the SEC, go back and understand the Securities Act of 33 and 34, and then have a session on the Howey test. Once we do all of that, I think we might come to some clear conclusion, and even Gary might even come to a clear conclusion that he's been wrong this whole time. My thoughts, Chip.
Yeah, I don't know, Jeff. I'm sure that's going to happen, but let's see. So if we go look at this a little bit more, look at the commission lacks, number one, the commission lacks authority to regulate digital assets or even impose relief. So you can see why they're not going to, so they do cite some, some.
Can you zoom in a little?
Let's see, can I? No.
Is that the fine print at the bottom of the thing?
Let's see, I can.
Whoa, there we go.
Fortunately, I can't really zoom in the way I can't zoom in the way I want, but that's better. So it's just, I'm like reading through some of the things. And number two, if the court determines the commission has clear congressional authority to regulate the digital asset industry, then the court should specifically describe the scope of the injunction to ensure that Odyssey and other LBC token users are not harmed, right? So it's kind of like what you're saying. It's like go into like the heart of, go ahead, okay. So you say you have the authority, so explain exactly how you're going to regulate it, and also describe the scope of the injunction, right? And what they'd have to do to describe it, Jeff, is they'd have to cite case law. They have to cite specifics. Now, if they go back to Howey and say, based on a common enterprise and the expectation of the profit of others, sorry, that doesn't work here either. That's the whole point. And also, the commission's proposed final judgment creates greater uncertainty as to whether Odyssey, if you guys don't know, Odyssey is the sort of front-facing part. It's like what you would go to, like we're on Odyssey, so you go to Odyssey, ODYSEE. And if you go there, you maybe you can pull that up, Jeff. But if you go to Odyssey, you can see on the chain is there as well. But that's like the front side. LBRY is the company, so that's what they're talking about here when they say Odyssey. So whether Odyssey or other LBC users are subject to the injunction, they go on to say the final judgment must make clear the consumptive sales of LBC by Odyssey or users are not prohibited. So what's clever about what they're doing here is they're saying, okay, got it. You got to win. You came, you took us down. Now cite exactly how you had the authority to do that, and be very specific in the judgment, and make clear how the consumptive sales of LBC by Odyssey or users are not prohibited. Where does it actually cite that? Where can we reference that? So I love what they do. Conclusion, by foregoing reasons for the reasons set forth in opening brief and reply, defendant LBRY respectfully requests this court find the commission has improperly exceeded its congressional authority and therefore lacks standing in attempting to regulate the digital assets industry. In addition, LBRY respectively requests the court approve LBRY proposed final judgment. You might be saying to yourself, oh, geez, I don't know, Chip and Jeff, why would you be talking about this LBRY case? Because it has such ramifications, Jeff, about, the LBC token is a decentralized asset. and the fact that they lost this court case over something so ridiculously stupid. I love the approach here. Will it hold? Will it have any, will it stick? I don't know, but I think what I do know is the fact that I like that they're just attempting to sort of flesh out what are you based your congressional authority on, and cite it, please.
So that's solid, and that's exactly what we want to hear from him. And if we look back to Warren Davidson and the bill that he presented, it's actually to strip the authority from the chair, from Gary Gensler, and actually put things kind of back the way they're meant to be, and remove the overreach of these unelected officials, which we're seeing, prevalent throughout the government. But here's Odyssey. What's nice about Odyssey is that as our videos are going up onto YouTube, they're actually also going up into Odyssey. So they're a YouTube partner. Now, if you go over to Odyssey and you search up On the Chain, you'll find us here. We only have 893 followers over there. We don't actually engage on the platform too much, other than it's a very nice backup mechanism, for the videos. I don't know that many people even know about Odyssey. I think it has low viewership overall. But it's set. The stage is set. If there was an opportunity to actually migrate over to this platform, so you can see we have very, very limited engagement over on the Odyssey. But again, that comes down to people not really knowing about it. But what's nice about this platform is that it's backing up every single one of our videos. Everything gets pushed over there. If it goes up to YouTube, it's going over to Odyssey. If YouTube ever goes down, we can easily migrate and move over to Odyssey, and everything is there, instantly. So it's a nice concept of what they put together over there. My issue, Chip, between all of these programs that are coming out, whether they're apps or what have you, that are trying to compete with YouTube, none of them have really elevated to the level of a YouTube in terms of recognition. And it's a massive, massive undertaking. But of all of the platforms, I think that the Odyssey platform is as close to YouTube as you're going to get. We've tried doing the Rumble. We've tried doing, a couple of these other solutions out there, but a lot of it's branding, recognition, where people are. It'd be really interesting to, I think a big part of it, they're missing the live stream. They're missing a lot of the easy element of a YouTube. But I like Jeremy Kauffman's, his viewpoints on things, and how he wants to decentralize the authority even on the video and remove that from the centralized grasp of a YouTube, of a Google. But now, so lot of things happening.
Coffee engaged, check. Jeff, do you know the best part of waking up? An XRP settlement in your cup. Best part of waking up is, what was it? Folgers in your cup is what that was.
Folgers.
Based
so
on.
The rules are clear, Chip. We
of course they are. I mean, of course
it's so clear. There's so much clarity that all these other people out there, they must not be wearing it. Maybe they right. They just don't know.
And Jeremy Hogan,
all these other attorneys out there, they're not as smart as Gary Gensler.
No. So the LBRY was asking the court to clarify that the secondary sales LBRY not affected by the judgment. Watch out for the ruling, as this is a possible scenario in the Ripple case, with the SEC asking for a broad/vague injunction and Ripple seeking clarity from the judge. So it's important for a lot of different reasons. I don't think it really received the attention that it should have, because people are like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and great, but I mean, this is the industry, and this player over here has large reaching ramifications everywhere as a stop. But this right here, XRPP Productions put this one out, Jeff, and he said that Judge Torres confirms the decision is ready to release. So he had a little chat. XRPP, you there? Judge Torres, wow, what an honor. Yeah, save it. XRPP, I'm ready to release the ruling. Okay, great. What do you need from me? Well, I'm not sure exactly when to release it. I want to match the timelines. Can you check with the Riddlers and get back to me? I'm speechless. Judge Torres had no idea you're into this stuff. Oh yeah, baby. IBBWT. Woo! There you go.
I like David Schwartz's feedback on that. So David Schwartz got into the discussion a little bit. And did you pull that one up? Pull up David Schwartz's response to
Where is it? Is it in the key?
XRPP. Yeah, it's right there. It's right in the, should be the next, or just go from that one link from XRPP. It should have been right there, the first comment. There should be a comment right from David Schwartz on that tweet. But this, let's see if I can find it quickly.
Yeah, I can't find it in there.
Lots of people have responded to XRPP on that one. Here it is. So, oh no, that's not the one. Shoot, we'll find it here.
I don't see it here. I mean, there's only a few replies in this, and I don't see it. I see Oscar.
So the David Schwartz reply was one of the most important parts, because then there was
on this particular tweet, because it's not on the tweet.
Yeah, it should be right on that tweet.
Huh.
Let me see if I can find David Schwartz.
Yeah, I'm looking at everyone that's on there. Let's see. You can show more replies. Let's see.
It's got to be there. Let me see if I can find, because he's commenting on the legality.
I see it. Yeah. Okay.
And then there was some more commentary. There we go.
Badly impersonating a federal judge is probably a crime.
So
but it's also protected under parody, though.
Right, protected. Yeah.
He said, but what about expertly impersonating a federal judge? Legal? Badly impersonating. It's called parody.
It is called parody. See, look at the next commentary on that. After XRPP had another comment. If you look at show replies, it should be there from.
If it were, I'd be serving several life sentences. Several, yeah. You'd be in death row. Neil Hardner said, hey, sir, let her know the hashtag is IBWT. Exactly. How did that work? You even screwed up the hashtag.
You make your own hashtag rules.
Yeah, you screwed up the hashtags, everything. But that's what's the great thing about XRPP. And since Jeff and I got to hang out with him in Miami, just a lot of laughs. I'll say that. Just a lot of laughs, and
hey, so
pretty fun time.
We did a great time with him. BZ Comedy saying, morning, fellas. You've been getting a lot of shout outs on other channels lately. That's awesome. You know why? It's because, Chip, here's my premise on it.
Channels are shouting us out. Come on, drop it in there, BZ. Like, I haven't seen any channels shout us out, but that's good to know.
Let us know who it is. Who is giving us a shout out?
And please help us.
Was it good or bad?
Because on our side, we have this amazing this amazing skill of losing people on every broadcast. It's like,
I've been monitoring that. It makes no sense, but it's true. You know, the unsubscribe rate has now surpassed the subscribe rate, which makes zero sense. We went through this once before with YouTube, and for every subscribe, we get an unsubscribe. It's very, very strange. So if we have plus 50, we're actually getting negative 50 from YouTube. But I want to take a quick moment, and this is going to be amazing for you guys, because we're super, super excited. A few weeks ago, we played an amazing clip from this congressman taking on Gary Gensler, and it was amazing. And this congressman represents Southwest Florida's District 19. We have him on the calendar. We have him scheduled. So I want to give a quick shout out. We're going to give him a quick shout out on every single show from now until June 21st when we bring him on. But I want to just throw him up there. Congressman Byron Donalds is going to be with us right here on the chain June 21st. We had a scheduling conflict. We were supposed to have him on actually next week on the 7th, but there was a scheduling conflict, and to make sure that we had him on for the time that we need, and for you guys to hear from him, and for us to talk about Gary Gensler and all the amazing things that Congressman Donalds is doing. We have him coming on June 21st. So put that in your calendars. Congressman Donalds,
that's
June
Sunday
21st.
Night, right?
That is a Wednesday night.
Oh, sorry, Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live right here on the chain with Congressman Donalds.
You know, the clip we're going to play is him grilling Gary Gensler. especially being the bag man for the Clinton campaign. And he goes, sir, sir, sir. He goes, yes or no? Yes or no. You're under oath. May I remind you, you're under oath, Chair Gensler. He's like, sir, sir. He's like on his knees, bending the knee, begging for mercy. And Byron Donalds had him on. Like, it was just the most epic exchange ever. And I'm just saying this, Jeff. I don't make any predictions, but I would say if you wanted to watch out for somebody who would be an amazing VP candidate, Byron Donalds is the man.
And he represents the great state of Florida. We heard it here first, Chip. I like that. I think he'd be amazing. Young guy, too.
The only downside is that if it is Trump, we couldn't be him because they can't have a VP and the president hail from the same state. So that would be the same state.
That's a good point.
And so so forget about that. Scratch what I just said. I forgot about that. I forgot about that law because the other thing is if it was DeSantis, then you couldn't beat it either because he's also Florida. So never mind.
So you will not be VP.
How about he be a great presidential candidate, and it'll be in the next election cycle. But I see Byron Donalds is amazingly strong. I mean, you want to talk about lockstep with how we think on this channel. It couldn't be any clearer, man. It's just he's an amazing. We're looking forward to this.
It'll be amazing, dude. It's amazing. It'll be the first congressional representative we've had on from Florida, so I'm excited about that. We've got others that are in the hopper getting ready to be scheduled. If there's any congressional representative that you guys would love to have on here, let us know. They have to be somewhat connected into the crypto space so that they have to have maybe taken on Gary Gensler or they have something specific in crypto or blockchain. Let us know. You can DM it to us on Twitter, especially if they're in your district. Let us know. We'll work to get them over here. This is going to be a great one though with Congressman Byron. It's going to be Congressman Donalds. Sorry, it's going to be really good. It's going to be awesome.
So Jeff, something else came out this week too. It's like there's been a couple of good interviews. So we saw one with Brad Garlinghouse, which we're going to feature in a moment here, but we also saw one with Monica Long, which we'll get into. But this was really interesting. But let's listen to what Brad Garlinghouse says when asked about the SEC, the Ripple case.
In terms of where things stand today, I'll try to not get too much into the legal weeds. You are right that I feel very confident that we'll see a decision from the courts in this year. In fact, I think I would guess it'll be in weeks, not months. There's some decisions that happened last week that you may have read about that the judge ruled against the SEC's effort to redact certain information about a very kind of infamous speech that the then director of corporate finance, a guy named Bill Hinman, gave, talking about why ETH, in his view, was not a security. And the court just ruled last week that the notes and emails associated with that are going to be made public and should be public around June 13th. So I think that's a huge win for transparency. But what really calls out is there hasn't been clarity. And despite calls and demands from leaders across the crypto industry, we haven't seen that yet. But as I said, Ripple decided to lean in and fight this fight, both for Ripple, but for the whole industry. We've spent a lot of money defending it. And I think what we've called out is really that the government in the United States and the SEC particularly is putting politics ahead of smart policy. And because of that, you're seeing entrepreneurs go overseas. You're seeing companies like Ripple. Most of our hiring is non-US now. Most of our customers, as I mentioned,
that's a big statement,
are non-US. And so I think it's kind of to be expected.
That statement is everything, Chip. That clip, super meaningful for Brad Garlinghouse, is hitting it out of the park. The politicians are letting politics intervene. Their desire to win at all cost, whatever their policy objectives are, which is extremely detrimental to the progress and innovation here in the U.S. Brad Garlinghouse is singling that out perfectly, and not just pointing at others and saying, look, others are going overseas. Ripple is going overseas. He didn't say they're moving their corporate offices over there, but he said they have zero hiring in the U.S. market right now. All of their hiring is overseas. All of all of their investment, all of their purchasing, everything is going on overseas right now. The U.S. market, they'll put it on a back burner if they have to, and they'll say, hey, our progress for the next decade is going to be someplace else. It won't be here. That's huge.
Well, the other thing he said too, I think, which was interesting too, is he said the settlement's going to be in weeks, not months. That was another sort of an interesting one. I was like, wait a minute, weeks, not months. So I don't know. I think it could be June, July-ish, but I mean, I never expected this to come out in March. It's just too big. The ramifications are too large. A lot of careful thought has to be into it. But Jeff, look at this right here. So BZ says get Warren on the show. So I wanted to remind. I wanted to remind BZ that it's already there. If you go to onthechain.io, as a matter of fact, I'll drop this.
That's not the Warren he's referencing.
I know. I'm just finding. I'm just going for a plug, and not that. I know he's talking about Congresswoman Warren. I'm not talking about that. I'm like, right. Let's talk about the real Warren. I just want to remind people that we did have Warren Davidson, the better Warren, the more important Warren. Let's put it there. But if you haven't seen this interview, this is just amazing, because when he says they're not trying to just stop it, they're trying to kill crypto. That's what they're trying to do. I was shocked that didn't get picked up, especially by the media. It's just massive. But then some other things came out days later that were kind of like wishy-washy around that. But you have somebody right from the horse's mouth, and it was just like, nobody paid attention to it. What are you going to do?
I'll tell you what. We're going to do a better job of marketing our videos with these congressional representatives. We're going to get out a little marketing blitz for Congressman Donalds beforehand. That way we can get some more movement on it. We'll get that. We're going to get that up. And so we're going to have like 3 weeks to promote with Congressman Donalds. I think it's important, that we get the word out. And Chip, this is huge news. And, it's breaking because you've only heard it here first. But Chip, Alchemist is back. Now,
I saw Alchemist in the chat.
Now, so Alchemist is in the chat. He's been gone for like 6 months. Don't know what happened to Alchemist. All of a sudden, Alchemist was there one day and gone the next. Not sure what happened.
Good to have you back, man.
But good to have Alchemist back, which is
49
awesome.
weeks away. I don't know what happened to Alchemist, but Jeff and I, we noticed. We're like, oh, what happened to Alchemist? Yep. He was our detractor. He was the only. Listen, we need dialogue here, man. We need people. We need thinking people here to be able to say, hey, if you don't like it, we'd like to put that up too. We'd like to say, there's got to be. You got to have some challenge. You can't just have all lockstep. And that was Alchemist right there. So, by the way, he says it's 43 weeks. A settlement's 43 weeks away. Conjunction and MS Paint graphic says so. Book it. MS Paint, Jeff. Is that still a thing? Like, I remember that from like the 90s. Is that still around, that program?
Let me check. Let me see. I don't even know. I'm sure.
I haven't been in Windows for the longest time, but I mean,
it actually is. Thing? It is still.
They still have MS Paint. It was like the worst program ever. Have they changed it all? Like that crappy little interface. That interface was so poorly done.
Look how beautiful.
That's gotten a lot better, man. Oh my gosh, it's gotten a little better.
Look at that. It's legit.
It's a studio, Jeff. It's a virtual studio. Let me put up this right here. I want to put up
with brushes and all that stuff. Hey, before you put that up, so Michael Otto is saying, yes, I've heard that you've been shouted out on the Zach show and other shows. I don't know who the Zach show is.
Oh, Zach Rector. You're talking about Zach Rector?
I don't know who the other shows are.
We tried to get Zach Rector on the show. I had reached out to him like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, try to get him on the show. Like, we'd like to bring
Zach?
I don't know him. I know my brother watches him a lot, and my brother's like, when are you gonna get him on the show? And I was like,
who is he? What does he do?
He talks about Ripple XRP, and he's a streamer.
Oh, really?
I've showed him to you before. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't.
So is that who you're talking about, Zach Rector? Because that's the person. That's the one that I'm trying to get him on the show. But
so he's given us a shout out, but I don't even know who he is.
You do, Jeff. I've shared it with you before. When you see him, you're like, oh, I know this guy.
All right.
Still recognize the name. But anyway, let's talk about Monica Long. So Monica Long, I think this video might be a little bit hot on the audio, but let's listen in. But Monica Long was interviewed recently too, and she chimes in. I can always lower it and see.
We do know that the judge issued an order very recently that that pertain to, which documents in the case would be kept under seal and which ones would not. Very importantly, at least in our view, Bill Hinman's emails will be revealed. They'll be made public in the coming weeks. And we think that's significant because Bill Hinman, when he was acting director of CorpFin at the SEC, he gave a very famous speech in 2018 where he said that he saw, or the SEC saw, that Ether did not look like a security because it had been sufficiently decentralized. And now we're going to, through the revealing of his emails, we're going to get more insight into what went into that decision.
Jeff, what's amazing about
Tell us
this,
a little bit more about
before we get into that, let's break this down a little bit. But what's really, I think people forget, now you have two people on record, right? You have CEO Brad Garlinghouse talking about the Bill Hinman emails and the fact that they're going to be going public, right? Now you have Monica Long, who's the president of Ripple, also talking significant about this, and we're going to get some insight. Now, what we realize is the fact that both Monica and Brad Garlinghouse both have seen the Hinman emails. They have the Hinman emails, and they're not the redacted versions. I believe they have the full one. So this is pretty interesting from the standpoint of, tell us we're going to see something pretty spectacular without telling us we're going to see something pretty spectacular, right, Jeff?
Well, this is where, there's so many things at play right now. And so with Gary Gensler, we know, and Chip, you and I have talked about the fact there can be no settlement because of the distance. You've got the SEC and Ripple are so far apart on where they need to meet that how do you have a settlement when you have two parties and a big gap in the middle? Now, if you have the Hinman emails and there's now a specific format or a specific tone or messaging that's been coming out of the SEC that is in conflict with how Gary Gensler is now presenting himself, or a complete misunderstanding. There's a lot of other things that are baked into it where the SEC at some point is now going to have to step back and say, we made a mistake. And it could be a massive loss to the SEC. And this is probably how they could potentially be packaging it up to the attorneys at the SEC, saying, here you go. Here's what's going to happen at this point. You're going to have a massive loss. You're going to lose all credibility. And that the market now is going to move in a specific direction. Or, you can all come together. Crypto is here to stay. Gary, the SEC, you're pushing innovation offshore. It's going to be detrimental for your party in the next election cycle. There's who knows all of the different variables that they're packaging into this, in order to achieve some sort of outcome, some sort of a settlement. I'm still going to fall on the side there can't be a proper settlement. There won't be a settlement. I just, until Gary Gensler is removed, I don't see there being a settlement. I think he's going to be hard-headed right to the end. I know this is, kind of the tone of what we're seeing here, but I think that it's going to have to come to a court decision because it's needed. It's needed in the space. I don't believe that with Gary Gensler at the helm, he's going to agree to the fact that XRP is not a security in the secondary market, even though they're going to show the Hinman emails making certain statements on Ethereum. I think he's, with him at the helm, they're going to have to remove him in order to have a settlement. And maybe that's part of the settlement. Maybe that's part of the agreement. Step down.
We're one of the few that's been in the camp of no settlement. There's no settlement. If you look at it, like what you just said, Jeff, if you look at it on the merit of this case, the only way you really could settle, the way Garlinghouse said that they would settle, is they would have to have something stating to the effect that today's XRP, just like Bill Hinman said in an email, he believes that ETH is sufficiently decentralized. We would have something very similar where we would hear that today's XRP, maybe if you want to look back and you want to say, well, did they sell it? Was it completely decentralized? Did they really have the product nailed down? And it goes a lot to what Hester Peirce was trying to roll out with the 3 years sort of like safe harbor. That was her safe harbor. You get 3 years to sort of work the bugs out. By year 3, you have every 6 months, you check in. Where are you at? Where do you need to be? That by the year 3, and then they later revised it to 2 years to be decentralized. But that, if you think about it, earlier projects, it's iffy, right? But that's going back 11 years versus today's XRP was completely decentralized. And we also saw it with all the additional filings in the case. There's a lot of other companies that supported their use cases, their business models. So let's listen to what else Monica Long is saying here in this interview. I think, let me back it up because I think she's asked a question here. Let's see. There we go.
Tell us a little bit more about these Hinman papers. I know we want to get more insight into what went into that decision, but once we get that insight, what could it mean for your case?
It's to be determined, just by the court, of course, what ultimately they will decide in the case. The ruling on the Hinman emails, we think, is certainly a win for transparency, where the crypto industry at large is really seeking clarity from the U.S. We think that this transparency will go a long way. And then ultimately, of course, the ruling in our case.
Jeff, it's like, that's a tough question to ask because you don't want to say the wrong thing, right? So she's right. It is a win for transparency because if this is a government organization, right, an enforcement body of the government, why is everything so secret? Why do you have to subpoena records? Why do you have to ask 7 or 8 times for the court? If it was a public citizen, you certainly couldn't get away with that. So it is a win for transparency. And unfortunately, everything's slow walk these days. Even the FOIA requests, like, oh, we don't know, we can't find them. We don't know. Nobody knows. And they just slow walk these FOIA requests. And it's troubling in a lot of ways, man.
Yeah, Chip. Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing here is a little bit of a glimpse into the cancer that has infected the U.S. government at multiple layers. And so, Alchemist is bringing up a really good point here. He said, Gary is the most blatant, duplicitous POS criminal I've ever seen in quite some time. Now, the problem that we're seeing at multiple layers of government is that we have unelected bureaucrats, meaning these are career government employees that believe and act as though they are the ones in charge and the people are subservient to their will. And this is, super problematic because it goes against the grain of the Constitution. And there's arguments and debate. If you tune in to C-SPAN and you watch the debates that are going on in Congress and the people that are hauling in front of Congress lately, you'll see that exact messaging is becoming prevalent, that there's a major issue, a major problem with these government employees at all layers of government. And so the fact that we're seeing it within the SEC is because of the fact that we're hyper focused on what the SEC is doing. Now, if you then parallel that to the EPA and to all these other different entities within government, you'll see the exact same tone, the exact same messaging. And so what we need is to clean house across the board within the U.S. government in order to set things back on the track that they're meant to be. And actually, I was watching one, they had a representative from the ATF, and the questioning to the ATF was, do you write law? And the ATF does not write law. The ATF has permission to enforce laws, but not to write laws. Yet the ATF has overreached their authority and began to write certain law where they don't have jurisdiction, just like Gary Gensler is trying to do the exact same thing. So the fact that it's Gary, is it just Gary? It's not just Gary. It's across all layers of government. And the fact that this is really monumentous, though, because within each area of government, you can impact our economy. Gary Gensler he's the one that is squeezing the life out of the economy. He's squeezing the life out of innovation. So we have to put the SEC back on the track that it was meant to be, and it's not there to impede progress of this country. It's not meant to impede this new innovative class. It's not meant to impede business. It's meant to support and help protect individual investment. They've gone so far beyond that into crazy la-la land. But that's why they put a guy like Gary Gensler in charge of it. But I'm not saying that when Hinman was there, it was any better, because it wasn't. I mean, this is something that's been going on for decades. It's not all of a sudden Gary came in and it's like, oh my God, the SEC is broken. No, the SEC and government has been broken for a long time. We're going through a revitalization of the Constitution or constitutionalists. And I think we're going to start seeing our government being put back on track the way it was meant to be by the founders. And we're going to see a cleaning of the house on all sides, all parties. There's going to be a cleaning of the house, and it's going to It's going to start with Gary. That's where it's going to start with. It's going to start with him.
I don't think we get rid of this squadoosh anytime soon. There's no way. But I want to throw this up, Jeff. So speaking of Mr. Gary Gensler here,
say that shady as F. See?
Yeah. Well, but Jeff, we got to go back to the original clips. Maybe Hans Loaded can help us out here. He can dig up the clip right after the lawsuit was filed. Maybe you could, if you get think of it or you remember, but go back when we said the early days that this might be the quickest way to clarity, and everybody laughed at us and ha ha ha. Yeah, it's almost 2+ years later, but guess what? It still may be the closest thing and fastest way to clarity. Now, did we ever think it would take this long? Hell no. I thought 6 months to a year, maybe a year and a half. Never thought it would go past 2 years. But we did say it. We also said early days, there's not going to be a settlement. There's nothing to settle over. And man, contrary to a lot of other influencers out there. But look at this. So Gary Gensler, Jeff, how do you lose credibility? How do you lose more credibility than the very little credibility you may have left? Well, you put out a stupid tweet like this. In 1871, Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern. The inflamed barn spread fire through the buildings of Chicago, and 2,100 acres burned. First, all right, Finance 2 has seen fires starting in one barn that go to engulf entire communities. Well, first of all, Gary Gensler, that is a fable. It never happened. It's a little story that they told back in the day, which was debunked back in the day. And all you had to do was simply, I don't know, maybe invest 6 seconds and type, depending on how fast you type, is did Mrs. O'Leary cow really start the Great Chicago Fire? And let's see, 5 things you probably didn't know about the Great Chicago Fire. No, Mrs. O'Leary's cow did not burn the city down back in 1871. They go into specifics about it, but they talk about, so it's kind of why would you put a tweet out, Jeff, on like something that's even made up? Like, even if you're trying to tie it into something, it's pathetic.
I don't know, Alchemist comment, I think, sums it up. Gary, the pyromaniac financial arsonist, says what?
And it's another one of his office hours.
Was this legitimately one of his office hours?
It's one of his office hours. Do you want to? Is it worth watching?
We have to watch it for a second.
So we can laugh at this.
The comedic value of it.
So we can laugh at this guy. Well, all right. Hang on a second. Let me go ahead and. He's such a nut job. He's like, there's plenty of. Jeff. There's so much clarity. There's so much clarity. Everybody knows there's clarity.
There's so much
how
clarity.
Do you not know?
He has extra clarity to go around.
And how do you not know there's no clarity? All right, let's listen to let's see what Gensler says here.
Finance is complex.
Tell me if you can hear it, Jeff.
Can't hear it.
Finance is complex.
Oh God,
it's also an interconnected global network with many transmission channels.
Okay, now I hope he's not reading this, Jeff.
He's reading it. Of course he's reading it.
Listen, he's reading it, but at least he would go into a studio. Now he's not even leaving for a studio. They would do that white backdrop and have that goofy music. Office hours with Gary Squadoosh Gensler. Daddy G.
The Squadoosh.
The Squadoosh. Hey, Mr. Squadoosh, huh?
I mean, you're going to make your office hours. At least put a background up. Do something. Do it again.
That, Jeff. But everybody knows, like if I'm going to put words up there, I'm not going to put them on a piece of paper. So I go like, and with many transmission channels, and just try to look human, dude. Try to not look like an android or Mr. Burns from Simpsons.
Jared said, as we laugh at Gary, he's laughing at us with all his money, which is true.
Yeah, but he's also a real human being, though, right? Imagine he walks out in public. Look, the XRP army and crypto army is far-reaching. This guy goes out in public. You know what's worse? His brother, which has nothing, his twin brother has nothing to do with him, goes out to have like a restaurant, like to have some dinner with his wife, and they're like, Gary, home. He gets heckled, and the angry mom comes in. He goes, I'm not Gary. Throwing stuff
Gary. He's gonna wear a shirt that says, I'm not Gary.
All the money in the world, you're not gonna erase that face, dude. I don't care if you put on dark sunglasses or whatever. People know they're gonna come after you, right? He probably has to wear a hat, probably has to wear a trench coat. Well, listen to this guy.
During the financial crisis, Andy Haldane, then at the Bank of England, compared the financial network to tropical rainforest, at the same time robust and yet fragile. Finance again, time and again, has seen its share of regulatory gaps. Such
Dude,
gaps
stop
can
reading.
occur when financial regulators don't treat like activities alike. Market participants may then argue.
Did he just say they don't treat like activities alike? Did he
Yeah,
just
my
say
God.
that?
Is he supposed to be reading? I mean, did he say he was reading a statement? Or is
No,
this
I don't know what it
supposed
was.
to,
He
like,
said, don't
flow?
read like activities alike. Who wrote this? This is first part of the thing. I don't even know what he's talking about. Mike,
No idea
you
what
know,
he's
he was at the
talking about.
Bank of England. Okay, what happened with him? I don't know.
Participants may then arbitrage such differences here in the US and between countries. And gaps also emerge when technology provides new ways of intermediating, transforming.
Alchemist, can you translate this for us? What is he saying? I have no clue what he's even going on about. Mrs. O'Leary's cow started a great Chicago fire. Now there's another fire. Now there's intermediating, transforming money at risk. Who the hell? Where's Jim D when we need him? Jim D is like our resident
Analyst.
translator here for this analyst here. What the hell's going on? The official analyst of the On the Chain channel. And he's not even in here when we need him the most. I don't even know what he's talking about, but let's listen.
And creating money and risk. And in these instances, regulators often fail to keep pace. Now, where's the SEC fit in all this? We were established as a direct result of one of these financial fires, and Congress gave us a mandate to protect investors, promote the public interest. In so doing, they understood that we also had to oversee those intermediaries at the neck of the hourglass.
The hourglass?
Stock exchanges,
The hourglass.
clearinghouses,
Where did the hourglass come
broker-dealers,
from?
investment advisors, etc.
Et cetera.
Congress enhanced the authorities in the wake of subsequent financial market fires, giving us greater authority about government securities, clearing houses, private fund advisors, auditing, and on.
I don't know what the point is.
Promoting financial resiliency goes to the core of the SEC's three-part mission.
Here we go with the three-part mission.
The three-part mission.
Fair, orderly, and efficient markets.
Jeff.
In normal times, it helps promote trust.
What is it?
In times of stress, complex.
What are the three
Also,
things?
I restarted it, but it doesn't
What the hell
matter, Jeff.
happened?
The whole thing is just,
I don't know.
Just
I don't understand what he's saying, but Jim D he said, I'm here. I got bored listening to Gary and nodded off.
Well, please, Jim
I think
D,
we're all
what happened
stupider. We're all stupider for listening to that.
Stupider.
Stupider.
Let's make up stupider sort of.
We've all lost some intelligence.
Yeah,
based
300 people
based
died
on
in
that
fire,
statement. What the hell
and they said a clumsy cow started it. Yeah, just a cow was like kicking around a lantern and started it was malicious, right? It's just ridiculous.
Alchemist said Gary loves to name drop Thurgood Marshall as cover for his blatant criminality. Albeit has smoke. He knows it's a great way to get the blue team, as you say, to believe him, which is true. It is.
There's the cow, Jeff. There's an official photograph rendering. Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicking over the lantern over here. She was like, please don't kick the lantern and start a great fire that will kill 300 people. And there it is. Boom.
There it is. Boom. What a squadoo.
Look at this, supposed cause, right? I mean, stop blaming Miss O'Leary.
Yeah, poor Miss O'Leary. Could you imagine?
It's a real person,
her whole
too.
family. It is. And the rest of her family had to live with this. It is like the shame of history.
She denied she played a role in the fire. Nobody is sure what started the fire, but Samuelson said there's a variety of possibilities and suspects. A family who lived nearby, rumored to have broken into the barn to steal milk when they were hosting a party. Possibly could have a lantern or something in the light. They could have set it on fire.
I'm going with the smoking the pipe thing. That
Someone
makes
could have been
a lot
smoking
more
a pipe.
plausible.
Either
Or
way,
other things happening in the barn.
Mrs. O'Leary, she was officially exonerated by the Chicago Committee on Police in the fire in 1997. Took a little while, Jeff.
Took a couple of years. Was a long investigation.
It's 100-year investigation. Over 100
years. They had Gary in charge. They put Gary Gensler in charge of that investigation.
And Gary Gensler losing more credibility. I don't even think he has any credibility. But
he had no credibility to start with, so I don't know how you lose. But we're coming up on that time, Chip. Before we do, even though we're out of time, but there was this awesome article from John Deaton. We'll have to talk about this tomorrow night. From Ripple and XRP to Filecoin, the SEC is simply illogical. John Deaton penned a really great piece here that was published up on Blockworks. So tomorrow we will discuss and break it down. John Deaton's penned piece here, and he has a really cool. They put a cool graphic up there. I think that was supposed to be Star Trek. That's Captain Kirk and
it's illogical, Jeff.
It's illogical. So we're going to get into that. From Ripple and XRP to Filecoin, the SEC is simply illogical. Tomorrow night, that'll be awesome. Chip, any parting words? Because we have the best and the brightest here, and Alchemist is back, which is awesome too. He's been on a hiatus for the past few months. Not sure where he disappeared off to.
Yeah, the other thing I want to say is tomorrow night we're going to break this down too. So Sum, the official wallet there, Sum has now become, it's entered into a near era. It's now going to be called Zaman. Rhymes with ramen noodles.
Ramen?
So, and I was pronouncing it Zaman, but in the blog post they say it's Zaman. So Zum is now Zaman. If that can get any more confusing for you, and
It's
especially
confusing.
when many will call it Zaman, which actually sounds a little bit more.
They tried something without an X this time, but I like Zum. Zum it's easy.
Some I thought was good. Yeah.
Maybe there's an issue as to why they had to change it. You know, maybe there's something there.
Well, it's a growth. It's a rebranding. Two entities put together, so it made more sense to put it into a new name, and also that URL is probably available.
I'm going to say the Zaman, even though it has some mythology or something behind it. I'm going to go with I don't like the name, and we'll discuss that more tomorrow.
We certainly will, guys. That's all the time we have. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you, everybody. We love you, and we will be back tomorrow night with another banger of a show. We will be kicking it off with some great stories, and like always, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. Retweet this if you can. Help promote the show any way you possibly can. We appreciate it. And also, too, I want to say, if you haven't picked up a badass Yeti, they're over 50% sold out, so there's a limited number left. But go to go to xrp.cafe, pick yourself up a badass Yeti. Come on, represent community. Go get yourself a Yeti, and then join the Discord group, and then show it off. We got a really nice community over there as well, and we want to see you guys show up over there. So anyway, that's all we have, guys. Chip and Jeff out. See you on the next one.
Out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.